Good afternoon. It is Sunday, August 9th, 4:20 in the PM. We are the Yang Gang Roundtable, your weekend basic income advocacy podcast talking about basic income, poverty, and electoral politics. I have with me Jeremy, Faye, Donnie, Mia, and Sherry Kirchhoff. We were hoping Jacqueline would make it, but she's not here yet. Maybe she'll show up. But Sherry, how are you doing? You survived another week of poverty and worse in America. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing all right. I've been, busy, but, productive and good. I finally got Jennifer Torrington's court order. She states like 3 or 5 different times that she's not going to fine me or charge me any money or anything like that because she doesn't want to increase our poverty. Yet she cut my child support by 86%. So she's literally fining me $300 a month. So, and then she says that I didn't have a witness, yet I did. She was just forbidden from testifying. Just a whole big mess with that.
Zephyr, go outside.
So, I've just updated my report to the
Bloopy
IRS
blop,
and
bloopy
Homeland
bloppy blop.
Security. And,
Are you going to go outside to
hopefully
play, or
they
what are
can
you going to do
act
today?
quickly on this, because Torrington has also ordered that an outside visitation specialist.
I think you were a
come
nicer
to my
person
home
after you
every
went outside to
Saturday
play
morning
yesterday. I
to
don't know.
take my son for 4 hours.
Then why?
And that is completely unacceptable.
Okay.
Apparently this visit is going to take place at a public location like a park or, a fast food place or whatever. And after like 6 or so of those visits,
Okay, well, I don't
they
know.
want to make,
I don't know what to
the
tell you.
supervised in the facility. And then after a handful of those visits, they want to give them unsupervised for entire Saturdays. So, fast tracking this would be within the 3-month window. So, yeah, no, I'm not okay with this. And then, she says I still have to pay my portion of the visitation fees while she took my child support. So that's just unfeasible. So, just more of a mess from Jennifer Torrington. But, as I said, I've had a lot more to update my investigators with. And in addition to that, after the June hearing, I covered the June and July hearings and the court paperwork on a 3-part installment on my YouTube channel recently on Sherry Kirchhoff. And, just discussing the whole thing. And so in the process, I came to find out that Torrington, after the June hearing on the 22nd, called I had called the abuser out on making many false reports to CPS, police, various government agencies, alleging abuse, neglect, mental instability, anything he could think of. Even up to and including paying a homeless guy $20 to quote unquote make me sound crazy. So, when I called him out on all that during the June hearing, he admitted to all of it, stating that he did, made all those false reports because I didn't give him visitation. And Torrington thought it was such a good idea that she filed her own false report with CPS.
Zephyr, you're upstairs
So I've
shooting,
recently
Zephyr.
gotten
Can you
that
stop?
call from them saying that, the court made a decision on June 22nd that you might be, mentally unfit to raise your child. It's like, oh, okay, well, let's discuss this case more fully. So after the end of a nice long conversation about interstate human trafficking, 410 sexual assaults, and 5 years of just straight up ownership, I have a new friend. And she's sending me links and contact information for law firms in the area and advocacy groups. And I sent her my documentation, which I've compiled in one tweet. So I don't have the heart to take the pinned tweet of, my donation pledge to Humanity Forward. I don't want to unpin that one, but I might almost have to, hey, here's what's going on, people, because, I need the word of it to get out. Because, when this visitation woman shows up at my door on Saturday morning, I need to be prepared for this. I need people to be aware that this, 1 second. Kiddos, I'm trying to have a grown-up talk. Thank you for quieting down real quick. But, anyways, like if this would have started, I'm babysitting all weekend. So if this would have started yesterday, this would have traumatized 3 kids, the oldest one being my 5-year-old. So, I'm ready with an explanatory letter, and which I managed to summarize 5-6 years into a page and a half. So I have this letter prepared, and basically the summary of what's going on, with a link to that one tweet with all my other documentation links on it. And now that you've been informed of the situation, if you still wish to voluntarily continue with a state-sponsored kidnapping, then you'll just be included in this investigation, most likely. I'll add you to the report. I have to. It's like John Lewis said, you got to make good trouble. Everybody expects me to smile, keep my head down, and be a good girl and obey. And all that's gotten me for 33 and a half years is worse and worse states of just, the worst of what society has to offer, here.
Sorry to interrupt you, but there's some people in the waiting room waiting to get in.
Right on.
Continue.
Thanks for the heads up. Thanks for the heads up, Faye. Yeah. So, but yeah, so continuing to document this and continuing to get the word out is, the best way to fight this situation. If I try to go outside the courthouse with the cardboard sign, I'm going to jail. If I've been trying to get hold of local news, and they don't want to even talk to me because I'd spark up stuff in the community. Hey, kiddos, please try not to fight. We're trying not to have turf wars in the small apartment. So I've got 3 kids here. Yeah, 5, 4, and 3.
Okay,
Oh,
I'm in.
sorry, I'm being interrupted. Hold on. Mommy moment. Move on.
Welcome, Izzy. How you doing?
Well, not so well. I mean, I got up pretty late, and I actually just got done with interviewing Jose for the next episode of my podcast, Is It Land Uncut. So I'm not like, I don't have much energy, but I did want to come on and stuff.
Well, thanks for joining us. Sherry was just updating us on her situation.
Well, and also like I mean, I know like when she was on, I know she tried to go into detail about like how the English differ from the French and stuff, the pros and cons and stuff like that, but things got pretty heated, and it's like she and actually led her to like to no longer come on and stuff. So I thought I'd give her the chance to like go into detail about it and stuff, and among like various other issues. And yeah, I mean, I did want to talk about more things, but again, I barely had energy, but I still like tried to do it because yeah, I know like I don't want just my first episode to be available and then like I lose audience or whatever. So, but I plan to have her on again. Like I don't know when, but I do want like to do more interviews and stuff with other people and stuff, and talk about various issues that no one else is really talking about. Make it conversational and stuff, and yeah.
I didn't like cut out or anything, right? It just got really quiet.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's like
Yeah, we're all here. I can hear you, but yes, it did get quiet.
So, well, because we switched topics a little bit. We went from Sherry to Izzy.
what was the topic before?
Sherry was explaining her different trials, what she's been going through for her legal case with the person who has essentially been her abuser, and just continuing to talk about how that's been a struggle for her. That's what had been talked about prior to you entering. That's all.
Oh, she's still she's in an abusive relationship, and she's trying to like gains legal, like take some legal action and stuff, and they're like screwing her over.
Sherry, would you like to just recount your situation in brief
Yeah.
for Izzy and for any audience members who haven't seen one of your previous episodes where you explain?
Right on. I think I could continue. The kids seem to have knocked off their turf war for a minute, but
Yeah, go ahead.
I was, well, basically, I was born disabled, and as a result, I've been the subject to all forms of human cruelty that are inherent in United States hate culture. And the first time, frankly, I haven't been anyone's property was January 2019, when I got my son and myself out from under a third generation outlaw biker who's been preying on disabled women since 1979, 7 years before I was born. So, in that process, I was discussing last week that Colorado state law is so adamant to give parents 50-50 custody that they will not, excuse 1 second.
I mean, I feel like this is a very great and serious topic. I'm glad she brought this up because, yeah, like first off, like disabled people are usually the ones who are um, who are susceptible with bullying and abuse, especially like with those who have powers of authority. And there is a bias, a double standard in the judicial system. Because like if your abuser is having to be a person with power of authority, if they're like if they're like a parent or whatever, they'll be like, well, like this they can do about it, or they can do whatever they want. And I've actually discussed this a lot with Jose and Militia, because this is stuff we've been dealing with. And I recall, like, I actually recorded when my I was like, APS assigned me to this one counselor from some organization that's associated with them, and they had one of the people come to the house unexpectedly. And my mother's like was my narcissistic mother was playing host. And she pretty much tried to not only lie but like try to like downplay the story, the abuse, my disability. And then she tried to use like my father having brain cancer and stuff. And then the moment she said those, she was saying that, the counselor, whatever, that came over, the social worker, whatever, like his whole attitude changed. And even like Militia noticed that when I showed her the video, like automatically he started taking her side, and telling me things like, you hear that, like you're in charge of your own destiny and stuff, like you're in control and you could leave anytime you want. When in actuality, it was just a way of like just like just trying to make me like be unreasonable or crazy or something. And it's like this was all happening in real time right in front of me. And yeah, my mother was all like, well, you can leave anytime you want. I mean, no one's holding him or whatever. And and it's like, and saying like, they didn't she was even arguing that no one made me disabled, which is actually a lie. She only brought up me being on the autistic spectrum, and saying like, oh, that is the only thing that's disabling me or preventing me from working, when in actuality, I have advanced depression and PTSD like symptoms. I mean, I don't even the I don't know if the doctors diagnosed me now, but it's not on paper. But that's what I have, and that's why I wasn't able to do one job in the summer. I had to leave on the first day because I had a major panic attack, and it's due to like um, how my parents treated me, especially my family. And but she was acting like, oh, we don't know what happened. Like he just stopped talking to us, and it's like we've always tried to like have him welcoming to the family and saying like, oh, he could come down and watch a movie with us and stuff. And I know Jose went through this, Militia went through this, and she like and it's come to my attention that Militia's like she wasn't able to even make it onto the podcast because of what she's going through. Because like it's so draining. The sort of things they do is so draining that you barely have the energy to like even like to even speak like this. That's for me, like that's why like I barely have energy because of that. And sleep problems and whatnot. And the problem is that those who are in organizations that are supposed to help people in our situations, they usually like side with the parent or those with authority or whatever, because well, it's like they have a solid reason, or they would say like, well, they can't pay their bills, or one of them has cancer, one of them has this or that. And you're a 28-year-old black man. That's usually that's usually what they go back to, or say things like, oh, we don't think you're worthy enough, like you're relevant, or you're worth our taxpayer dollars, and things like that. And like when you try to like tell people about these things, they always make an excuse, always. Whereas in the French community, like it's like they don't they're never like lax about those sorts of things. Like they will get to the bottom of it, and they won't like take any sides or whatever, you know. And unfortunately, like we're in a society where um everyone is like so self-entitled and cold and callous and narcissistic, even thinking that like, oh, they don't think this person is suffering as much as that person, therefore we're just going to put them off to the
Yeah,
side.
I
Yes.
100% agree, Izzy. It's so nasty how it's like, instead of actually helping you, they come up with these excuses to say how you really don't like need any help, or that the help that you think you need isn't the kind of help that you want, or you want some other kind of help. It's complete. It's like a distraction, a disconnect. It's really gross. And if they just actually spend as much time actually helping you, instead of just running their mouths and pontificating to you, it would change like a whole lot of things for the better.
And actually, Ariel, I actually wanted to bring up that I tried, like I said, I actually recorded this happening in secret, and I actually tried to share it to one of these support groups, and it was like for a narcissistic support group or whatever. And one of the admin decided to like DM me saying, message me saying, oh, we just we unfortunately had to like reject your post because your narcissistic mother's face was on it, and that's against like privacy, whatever. It's illegal and stuff like that. And I'm sitting there going like, listen, um, this is a very serious, and I'm like, this is literally evidence of what I've been going through, and you're preventing me from giving people context, all because her face is showing, and she was saying things like, well, do you really want to take this route? It's like, and she tried to like, talk to me in a condescending manner, saying things like, we've always been there for you. Like, we completely understand where you come from, which is a absolute lie, because they didn't do shit for me. It's like, but the only time they're productive is when they message me about the things I've done wrong, or try to mute me if they don't try to mute me, or remove me when they don't when they don't like how I'm acting or stuff. But when it comes to like actually trying to help my situation, they don't do anything. And then they say like, oh well, maybe if you just share the letters, or just share the back of her fucking head, maybe like that would be better. It's like, oh fuck you. It's like, and and it's like it, and also like, when I saw that one article about like the tyranny of excessive positivity or whatever, it's like that's what brought me up to, is like, it's, and especially, like Militia would be saying things like, people would tell her to be positive or whatever, I get those multiple times. Be positive, be positive. It's like, smile and all these other stuff. But like, these are the same people who just don't care, whatever. And then like, and they will like, if you say the wrong thing to them, like they will like try to put all their energy in trying to like punish you and make you feel less than who you are. They're the ones that like take the side of you know narcissistic parents, family, or whatever. And it's like, yeah, they love that. They love it when they do that. That's why they're able to get away with these sort of things. And then people
Izzy,
wonder. Oh, okay, go ahead.
what would you like to happen instead of what actually happened? What would you like to happen when you share that information with people in a support group, for example?
Well, I've said, it's no secret. I've said it multiple times. Like, listen, I need help getting the hell out of this environment. It is literally killing me. It is literally preventing me from functioning properly. Like, I can't go throughout the day without collapsing. And when I do have some energy, I gotta like waste it on any sort of interference, and it's usually has to do with my parents, or the people who enable their behaviors and stuff and things like that. And I'm like, I'll do whatever is necessary just to make that happen, because because I'm a 20-year-old Black man, I shouldn't be in this situation. But people, think that, oh, if I just get a job or talk to a professional, like, it'll fix everything. Meanwhile, I don't see them talking that way to someone who's an elderly, to someone who's to the Turkish women, or that one girl from Saudi Arabia when she was being abused there, like, or when a person has like, ALS or Down syndrome, or all these severe physical disabilities, or someone who has cancer. I don't see them talking that way to them, but it's usually people like me who they think, because I look fine or whatever, they don't think that that my situation is that important, and they're just like, oh, just get a job, just leave, like it's easy or something. And
Do you
and
have any sort of support in terms of your own mental health, where in your situation where you are? Do you have anybody to talk to as a therapist or something like that?
right now I don't need anyone to talk to. And mind you, I've been down that, I've done that already. Talked to I've talked to doctors, I've talked to therapists, I've talked to people who pretend to be therapists, and I talked to all these people, and all they've done was, they just wasted my time. They actually made me worse. They even, like, shoot, my own psychologist actually took the side of my parents, and it's like, hey, maybe you should just talk to them. And it's like that's like, for me, that's like a death sentence, because
What about What about an autism expert? You were diagnosed at some point, so do you have somebody you can see that, like is an expert that you can reach out to and talk to about that?
The doctors are incompetent here, and it's like now maybe the one who evaluated me for my disability benefits, maybe they got it right. I don't know, because I'm like I have all these other problems, and I don't know what the hell they are, and I know, like, if you have, I was also told, that if you have autism and ADHD, on top of like all these like chronic illnesses or mental illnesses, like the autism and ADHD can actually will amplify those things. So that's how, autism or ADHD, like how they can be a disability rather than just, some limitations when it comes to social interaction. That's where like the hypersensitivity and stuff like that come from. It's not just the autism or ADHD. It's like it's more than that. So like if you have depression and autism, like it's just going to be uh magnified, at extreme levels. And it's
Right.
like
So the young people that I know of, okay, that were younger than you, uh, when they were still living with their parents, they discovered that they had both autism and ADHD, like you. And in that case, like the mental health experts gave them some medication for the ADHD portion. Did that ever happen for you? Did you ever try anything that might help you in that sense?
did that like
I'm
I wouldn't.
sorry. I don't want to be, asking the same questions, but it's sort of the obvious, the first things that everybody wants to go through. The same, we all ask the same questions over and over, probably.
Well, I don't get
Probably
how
sick
it's
of
like
it.
I don't get like it's like new or whatever, because I'm like I've been there, okay? I've done those things, and
Right.
for some reason I get the same exact question, and then when I clearly say, like, listen, what I need right now is help getting out, they're like, well, did you try this? Did you try that? Did you try this organization? Did you try, taking these medications? Did you try
I
talking to
wish
this
Jacqueline were
person?
here because she would be saying exactly that, is that all of the things that she's
Yeah.
tried in her life
Oh,
already,
yeah.
and everybody always wants to know, have you done these already?
Yeah.
You say that and I'm like, wow, yeah, I was thinking the same thing. But yeah, but it seems very common, even just with the people I've talked to with either well, a lot of it's physical disability, that like, oh, have you tried this? And like, I keep trying to remind people, like, we have limited bandwidth, and the more that we're in pain, the less bandwidth we have to spend on trying to correct our situation.
Yeah.
We actually need more help in order to achieve that. And we're in a society that shames you for needing help.
It's like talking to
It's
a wall. That's what it
disgusting.
feels like.
Yeah. it's
I'm
really
sorry to be the
gross.
physical manifestation of representing that wall right here in the podcast for a minute.
Oh, and they also say
Don't apologize, Faye. It's exactly the point of our show. Sorry to cut you off, Faye, but we're bridging communication gaps right now, So I'm glad that you gave your perspective. If you don't understand something, you feel a certain way, please do chime in. I'm really glad that we're bridging this communication gap. So Izzy, please continue.
I mean, first off, it's like if you're sorry, like just don't do it, whatever. 'Cause I mean, like you like listen, a lot of people say the same exact thing. Even my parents, and they know that that if they're like, well, maybe if he tried this sort of thing, people will be like yeah, I agree, because everyone, that's how that's like they don't really try to they just try to find a way to like just blow you off, but then try to sound productive. But the moment you get frustrated with them, like like all of a sudden, like it spends them like half a second to call the cops on you, or silence you, or even write up a probation letter. It's like, where was all that energy?
This is interesting, because not only is it that they say, oh, have you tried this, have you tried that, but when you actually do take their suggestions and you actually do their suggestions that they suggested to you, they move the goalposts. Like, first it used to be you needed high school to get like decent work, decent job, decent wage. Then it's like, oh, but now you need more credentials at a community college. Oh, well, now you need like more, you need a bachelor's degree. Oh, well, did you apply to like 100 different jobs? Oh, okay, you did. Did you try 1,000? Okay, you
Here's
did
the
1,000 on up. Okay. So like when I do take your fucking advice, you constantly move the fucking goalposts and you don't think nothing of it, and then you call people lazy. Go fuck yourself.
and my
it just infuriates me.
mind you, Ariel, mind you, it's like I was taught that like when I was like when because for my autism and stuff, I have people tell me do therapy, quote unquote therapy, behavior therapy, whatever, saying, oh, don't talk this way, don't talk that way, you gotta like learn how to have small talk or whatever, do this, do that. And then the moment when I've somewhat learned it or whatever, now people are telling me, oh, I don't think you're autistic, I don't think you have this or that. It's like, oh, like these are the same people who are saying like, oh, don't do this, don't do that, or actually bullied me and harassed me just because I was different, and atypical. The same people, and I'm sitting there going like, wow, you people are something else. It's like easy. Go ahead.
As like
I'm
plausible
sorry,
deniability.
our other special guest today has
Sorry,
shown up
guys.
today.
But I wanted to say, Izzy and Ariel, I went through the same thing my whole life. It's like, oh, you sound really smart. I don't believe you have a problem being dyslexic. You know, you know what? It's gotten me to the point over the years where I really have developed a strong distrust and dislike for most people because of being treated that badly like my whole life. Like, we're not talking just once, twice, we're talking years. And most recently I got attacked and got my only self-employment, if you will, kind of opportunity sabotaged by a young guy who's young enough to be my kid, who's economically privileged, who targeted me specifically because I'm poor and a human trafficking survivor who had been shut out of jobs my whole fucking life. And he sabotaged, my self-employment effort. And this is a guy who, and I'm not going to mention any names, but yes, he targeted me specifically after seeing my interview on Yang Gang Russ's show. And it's just gotten to the point where my faith in humanity and my trust in people is fucking gone.
It's
Well,
very
because
bleak.
the whole system's
Yeah.
broken. The whole system is broken down to its core, right? And we haven't evolved any systems to help people. And even when you created a website to help track how poor the system is, you were again ignored, right? You wrote that program to keep track of social workers follow-up and follow-through, right? And like, it's like, even when you put in the effort, it doesn't matter, right? Because the people with the money and or the validation
Oh my God. It's an understatement. It's like, now I've had no family to turn to for help and support since age 12. Okay. And that's kind of like how I ended up homeless and trafficked as a 12-year-old. Okay. So it's like, it's not the same thing as being poor, but at least having family to turn to for some help and support, or at least somebody in your corner, that gives a shit when the rest of the world is just out to, fuck your life into the goddamn ground. Excuse my French. I don't know of a better way to put it. And it's like, oh, you're poor because you're stupid, or you couldn't have possibly have thought to try anything. And then when you prove yourself that despite being dyslexic and all this other shit you've had against you your whole life, including having been homeless for 2/3 of your adult life because of being forced out on society's margins, because of being a poor trafficking survivor, thank you very much. It's, oh, well, you can't possibly be too poor to be unable to get on your feet, because look at, you were able to put together this pitch deck. You're smart. If you were poor, you wouldn't be that smart. So it's like when we try to prove ourselves, and we do prove ourselves that, yes, we are smart. We just, we just need a chance. We don't get one. We're disbelieved.
It's all the means testing. It's really, it boils down to means testing on do you deserve my money? And I think that's why UBI is very important for anybody in any of these situations. I have friends that this team alone is a great example how we are busting our ass trying to make a difference in this world, right? And we are all struggling, and we still have people as gatekeepers shaming us for that we're not working. And it's like, okay, well, did you even look into the proof of all these episodes we've created? Have you seen what we've done? No, right? And even if they did look at it, we still don't check off the right boxes for them to hand over money, right? Unless
it's not even just gatekeepers from like social service agencies, it's people in general, and I've even found that, in people in Yang Gang who are supposedly humanity first. And it has gotten to the point where, I can't help but feel utter fucking disgust and just feel like everything's screwed. I mean, I have done everything I could to try to pull my life out of the toilet. Well, excuse me, out of the gutter with no help from nobody my whole life. And, that was including earning a degree in math while homeless and literally eating from garbage cans as a non-traditional student, and if it's like, oh, you didn't try hard enough, or you must have been stupid and that's why you're poor and can't therefore be trusted with money, right? It's, oh, you can't possibly be poor and living in a house that literally the roof is caving in and it rains in your bedroom with no heat, no hot water. You can't possibly be poor because you're so smart. How do you know all this shit about options trading? If you're, if you are you can't possibly be poor. Well, because over the years, when I was struggling to get a degree after first being exposed to trading, by the way, while I was being trafficked as a kid in the 1980s, before there was online brokerage firms and all that noise, over the years, you accumulate knowledge, and you're always trying to prove that you're good enough to be deserving of a chance just to be able to survive. Never mind get to have the good life, and it's just, it's gotten to the point where, to put it in trading jargon, I would recommend this society as a whole for one big fucking short sale. I mean short sale, as in I'm definitely bearish on the outcome.
And I want to follow up on the the gatekeeping thing and stuff. So Jose has gotten like criticisms from the English part of Canada, more or less those in the New Brunswick area, where she always mentioned that that the French are pretty fast and quick at getting things done or whatever. But then they would try to argue that, well, well, you're not that fast yourself, Jose, but you keep saying that we're slower than the French would, and we don't get anything done. And then the French remind them like, well, Jose is freaking disabled. She can't like move that bad, but she's still faster than them. She still gets stuff done. And mind you, like, her, she was the one who managed to like leak crucial info about autism and LGBTQ community to like her social worker, to the French government, and all that. Like, she did that, like this, and like they try to like downplay that and stuff. They said the same thing to me, like, oh well, if you complain that that we can't do it as fast, well then why don't you do it? It's like, why aren't you moving? I'm like, I'm fucking disabled. Like, if I had the energy, like, oh man, I would get this sort of stuff done. But even so, I do what I can. I'm not gonna like, they try to like project that and try to like point the finger back at you and stuff.
You know what
Fuck
else I
off.
think it is, you guys? At a certain, and also like some people have Stockholm syndrome. They're so used to the abuse and the ridiculousness. It's like this pull yourself up by your bootstraps ideology has become Stockholm syndrome for the assholes who keep wanting to defend the status quo that is literally killing them. So my one of my family members supports Trump, and their unemployment just got slashed by the 600, but they're still supporting the Republicans anyway, saying that like taxes are gonna go up.
The
And I'm
poor
like, how
aren't
can-
even getting anything, and people like my husband who are elderly on Social Security are going to have their Social Security cut. As a diabetic, my Medicaid, which doesn't even cover all my medical needs, it's not covering my testing supplies. I'm lucky it pays for my insulin, but now that's going to get cut to pay for privileged, able-bodied people who are at least lucky to have fucking jobs, to at least have jobs, and people who were able to collect unemployment and unemployment benefit. But those of us who were poor and suffering before this happened, who didn't get anything except a one-time COVID check, well, we're not even going to get a second one-time COVID check. And we're paying for everybody else's with cuts to the programs we need just to stay alive. Never mind live in dignity.
Here's the thing. Like we also can't allow the enablers of assholes. There are people who are big rotten assholes, but there are also people who defend their asshole behavior. You know, all the time you have that one lunatic screwing everything up, and then people are like, yeah, we know they're like really fucked in the head, but just try to be nice to them. We know they're
that would not fly
else's...
with the French. That would not fly with the French at all.
Right. But what do? We we try protecting and coddling our assholes when they're ruining everybody else's life. I say fuck that. You know?
Yeah, it's like nobody cares about all the freaking poor diabetics with no income who are on Medicaid, who are now not going to even be able to get our insulin. Because, I think all the able-bodied who are getting helped out of Trump's thing, I'd like to just tell them, you're fucking welcome, assholes.
Jacqueline, one of the goals of today was to introduce you to Sherry, who's been with us a couple of times, but you have never met up with her. Sherry, do you want to tell her a little bit about yourself so Jacqueline can get to know you too?
Well, I put a message in the chat that I just want to hang a big ditto sign on everything y'all are saying. Like, I don't know who has views on, multi-window who's here, but I'm just sitting here like, yeah. But basically, I was born disabled because of a doctor error. He wanted to hurry up so he could go golfing in December. So I don't know where the heck.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
For fuck's sake.
Yeah, for real. And my mom didn't want to pursue any action or anything because she and excuse me 1 second. Sorry, I have 3 kids in my house today. So anyways, when I was born, my mother and her Wells Lutheran upbringing decided that she didn't deserve a defective child because she's holy and noble and pure and married. And so I must have made the decision myself through some sin to be born defective. And when I was 2 days away from my 12th birthday, I was hit by a drunk driver when I was walking to school, and this happened. So as we're talking about the opioid pandemic, I've been clean since 2014. And as a result of being disabled twice, and still having an IQ of, I was certified by the state of Wisconsin to have an IQ of 135 when I was 13 and a half. And then the state of Colorado tested me at age 32, and I had an IQ of 115 after a lifetime of poverty and abuse. So what Andrew Yang has to say about hardships straight lowering your IQ, and excuse me 1 second. And so anyways, what Andrew Yang has to say about hardship and abuse and bad times lowering your IQ and, making you think with your lower brain, he's absolutely right. And, so I've been abused and trafficked by everyone my whole life. My own mother would hire me out to people, for odd jobs and babysitting and house cleaning and etc. And then she would get the check addressed to her. And, in trying to get out of the situation, I've never had enough income to live on my own before. And so I've always had to rely on others. And one second.
That was kind of like my situation. And it certainly wasn't for lack of trying.
Exactly. In the 90s, when I lost my leg, it was December 3rd, 98. I was, 2 days off my 12th birthday. I got a morphine pump on my birthday because that's what Wisconsin did to minors back then. Yeah, the magic button. Loved it. Yes. And so what woke me up out of the morphine haze and the withdrawals and the hell of getting off dope is graphics software. Back in the late 90s, early 2000s, with all the, chat rooms and websites and all that, I was producing graphics for people and receiving money in my own name. I was like, please send cash, I'm 14, and because I wasn't allowed to have a bank account because I needed my mother to co-sign. And if she signed on anything, she was just going to drain it. She shot my dad when I was 12 and a half because she wanted a divorce and he didn't. And in Wisconsin, they won't give you a divorce unless both parties agree to it. So she took the easy way out, so to speak. And she's still around, Marana, Arizona. She was never charged, arrested, anything else, because it was the worst case of suicide ever seen, where he shot himself in the eye. Like 0.0% of suicides shoot themselves in the eye. It's the forehead, the side, the jaw. It's not, you're not looking down the barrel. That's not how you do it. It's a statistical fact. I took criminal justice, courses in Kaplan University. And so just crap, like the drunk driver who ran me over, he was never breathalyzed because the school liaison officer who arrived on the scene knew the driver from the truckers jamboree that town in Wisconsin holds every August. So they were old friends. And so there's no way he could possibly be drunk, except for he's stumbling out of the truck and he can't talk. So, humans have been nasty to me my whole life. I've been illegally denied my disability because of my IQ. And excuse me.
Oh, I've been through almost the same shit. And what really hurt is when it came at me through somebody who's a member of Yang Gang, who attacked the only option I have left available to me now as a poor 53-year-old disabled diabetic who never had got a chance my whole fucking life. And he basically undermined my support network of friends within Yang Gang and basically attacked the only option I have left available to me, which is trying to create my own job, which is offering to teaching people how to trade. If they support my Patreon, they get access to certain levels and, including up to, one-on-one coaching sessions from me where it's like, yeah, one-on-one, I'm coaching you and teaching you how to trade. If you have, trades on and you have questions about trading. And this guy went out of his way to even sabotage that. And it's just wreaked hell in my life and in my husband's life. And now we don't even have any hope that we're going to be able to survive because of that. I mean, granted, this one jerk wasn't representative of the majority of Yang Gang. But, I'm going to tell you a little story. When I was initially trafficked, I did try to escape more than once. The first time I was not successful. And I thought my traffickers were going to kill me. I was like 13 years old, right? I thought these guys were going to kill me because one of the men most materially responsible, and these were guys that were an outlaw motorcycle gang. An East
Dude,
Coast
you want to talk
rival
about the fucking outlaws? My rapist.
Wait, hold up. Let me finish.
Outlaw, and then you can go. I'm sorry, go right ahead. But yeah, me too. Go
We're
ahead.
talking about the East Coast rival to the fucking Hells Angels. All right. And this guy, one of the guys that was mainly responsible for trafficking me and my sister, who didn't survive to tell about what happened to us. I did. Okay. She ended up dying from poverty, from lack of health care later on. But anyway, what happened was this guy, they called him Doc. And I'm going to tell you how he got the nickname Doc. By day, he had a job as a tenured college professor teaching psychology at a somewhat prestigious local private college. But by night, he was trafficking guns illegally, and he was trafficking poor, vulnerable, abused, and homeless women and girls, like 12 years old, like me. And when my first unsuccessful escape attempt was thwarted, I expected these guys to kill me because they did kill people. Okay, so I didn't find it unreasonable to think they might kill me, but they laughed at me. Now, traffickers and Johns, men who use their male privilege and their economic privilege to buy rape tickets, which is, we're going to be honest, that's exactly what a fucking John is. And I'm not going to apologize for saying it. Okay. But there is one thing, they lie. Johns and pimps and traffickers lie. They lie to the public and they lie to their victims. But there is one thing that they tell the truth about. And that is when my traffickers laughed and told me, they didn't kill me, they laughed at me. And they told me that, that nobody in society would ever care, would ever help me. That once a whore, always a whore. And basically that society had thrown me away. And it was really sad to find out that, once I thought I found friends and found a home where I was safe and found support and found people that cared, Doc's words from 41 years ago rang out across the sands of time and proved to be true. Because what happened was my last and only real chance of being able to economically survive. And we're talking not end up homeless and not end up dead from being unable to even get my freaking insulin, being sabotaged by a guy who is a member of the Yang Gang, who, from what I understand, has caused problems for other people in Yang Gang too, not just me. But it's like he basically targeted me because I was a trafficking survivor. It makes sure that I wouldn't survive. Because you know why? Because our truths are so damn powerful that if the rest of society, if the rest of the public at large really understood and knew what it was like and what's going on and how the whole human trafficking thing works, these guys would have their entitlement to use their money to buy rape tickets taken away from them and would be cut no quarter from the rest of society. And you know what? How dare any poor throwaway woman or girl stand up and tell such a powerful truth? We were never meant to survive. Sherry, we were not intended to survive. Okay? So when that happened to me, it was like Doc's words prophetically coming back 41 years later, including the cruel laugh.
This is a pretty intense show, isn't it?
I love it. I love it. It's the truth.
That nobody would ever care. And that, escape to what? Yeah. So, Sherry, I believe you. I've been fighting this my whole life. And I'm going to, after this show, I've been asked by another member of Yang Gang, who is a very good friend of mine, to reach out to you, and we should talk and that, to get some help to, for you, that you needed to get home to where you wanted to go. And that is, I'm going to reach out to you afterwards. I'm going to click on your link, and I'm going to send you a DM on how you can private get in touch with me. And I'm going to put you in touch with a few survivor leaders I know that have survivor-run organizations. They don't have a lot of money, but through a network similar to Harriet Tubman's Underground Railroad thing, we have a way to get, we'll figure out something to get you to safety. And if that's one thing that I can accomplish before something, God forbid, happens to me because of trying to survive in destitution in Trump's America, I'm at least going to save one more fucking victim.
Jacqueline has her whole
see
life
that
active
guys,
in-
like,
yeah.
I mean, see that, guys. This is like, this is what I've been talking about. Like, what Jacqueline just did. Like, her like offering Sherry, resources of people to talk to, and to help her out and stuff. It's what Andrew Yang has been doing for us, and it's what I try to do for Militia. But people are like, "Oh, I'm worried about your health or whatever." Like, no, fuck that. I'm trying to save someone who's essentially who's essentially just like me, and they're having their lives wasted and stuff. And I'm not going to just sit back and be like, it is what it is, when I could have done something. It's like, hey, if Congress were doing their job, Andrew Yang wouldn't have run for president. If our organizations were doing their job, I wouldn't have to spend any of my energy like trying to act all desperate, reaching out to all these people, and even like exposing myself on Twitter or go to these support groups, whatever, or let alone like
Exactly.
spend my energy on helping out Militia. Like, if they were doing what they were supposed to do, we wouldn't be in this position at all.
If this society was even remotely fucking decent and remotely fucking humane, I wouldn't have had to put myself out there having to beg and beg and beg for my life for years, from everything I have tried ending up being for nothing. So it's like when people think I either haven't tried hard enough, or that I'm stupid, or, oh, gee, you're really smart, you can't possibly be poor, you must be a fraud and a con artist. I'm going to tell you what, you can come and see how I have to live, and then ask yourself, if I was a con artist, would I be living in a fucking house with a roof that's caving in, and be winging it with my insulin doses and stressing out about maybe not even being able to get help with my insulin if Trump gets reelected, because he has promised to gut Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security to pay for some temporary help for people that are able-bodied and better off,
So the thing I was going to say is that Jacqueline's been working a lot of her life in activism for other people like herself, and it's interesting that the most important and the hardest working activists are people who are victims themselves and who wouldn't even have doesn't have sufficient resources to do it, but they will do it anyway because they feel they understand the need.
I wanted to prove my traffickers and all their customers, the Johns. I wanted to prove those pigs, and I'm sorry, I cut them no quarter. I wanted to prove all those pigs wrong. Fuck you. And if I can help it, not one more survivor is going to be left to die from poverty in a pool of her own vomit in a back alley or an abandoned crack house, if I have a damn thing to say about it. You know what really disgusts me, that sometimes like the people in society with the most amount of resources are like the shitheads, and the people with the least amount of resources are the actual decent people who want to help,
like the French, and like the Hispanics, like the
right, exactly. We gotta reverse this, and I think it is this way. It's as ugly as it is because like decent human beings don't want to be jerks. But the like in the old days, in like the caveman days, the person with the most amount of resources wasn't afraid to like kill and destroy and ruin people's lives to get the resources that they wanted. But it's like we are. But I think we can
not,
at least
not
be
every
a little
person with
assertive.
resources. I think we're making too
No,
broad.
No,
of
I
a-
mean,
Oh
yeah.
no, don't go
No
there.
statement
No,
here.
no, I don't want to hear it because it's like, you know, we if that was true, we wouldn't be in this situation. Okay, like no one's doing no one's like taking action, no one's doing anything. Everyone is just shrugging their shoulders and being like, well, we live in a society.
When I get somebody who, after watching that whole 2-hour interview with me and Yang Gang Russ, where I talked about what it means to be poor and marginalized my whole life, without getting into all the gory trauma porn fucking details of what it meant to be trafficked, okay? And to deliberately, you know, seek me out to undermine a couple of Yang Gang friends who were trying to support and help me, lift me up onto my feet, and help me build a platform so I could provide basic survival for myself without having to beg anymore, okay? And when this person does that for no reason other than they can, and they get believed or they get automatically given the benefit of the doubt because people with privilege have never had to walk a mile in my shoes for one hot minute, never mind for decades of my life, you know, want to believe them because, oh, it makes sense for privileged people to be able to afford to work for free. Yeah, you've got family supporting you. You can do that. I don't. And you know what?
Yeah.
Being trafficked means I already work for free plenty. So guess what? No.
And Faye, sorry, like you said, no, I'm not stereotyping. Like Jack Dorsey, he's a decent human being with a lot of resources who's really trying to help, but they're so few and far between. And
it's like they're the few that have helped me were few and far between. And the thing is, it's like I never really got helped with enough to be put on my feet so I wouldn't have to beg anymore. Because the minute where it looked like I would start to finally get a break in my life, it would be something like that shit happening where it's like my only chance got undermined. And it's like, it's difficult enough to explain to people who've never suffered poverty or total social exclusion and total marginalization that, yes, you can actually come from deep poverty and be totally marginalized, but be smart as fuck with derivatives trading because you were smart as fuck to be able to get a math degree while homeless and eating from garbage cans, and you aced differential equations while half asleep, okay? And that helps in understanding how to do options trading. Right?
You know, I feel like I talked to someone recently and, you know, I was telling them how, you know, I like to do things, you know, where it's at least mostly by the books, you know, and good. And they're like, that's not how you win. They're like, well, I've had military training. You kind of have to go a little off script in order to win against any opposition. And they were talking about our society and how it's like crumbling, and that the only way to do it is almost to do it like, you know, beat them with their own game, you know. And it's just like that's against a lot of our values to some capacity, you know, and we have been playing by the rules, and that's what's causing most of the problems, right?
I did nothing but play by the rules, and for my trouble and effort, I got disbelieved that either A, I was capable, and B, was trying hard enough, or I was believed that I was smart.
Well, it's all this credentialism, right? We need credentials to prove that.
But once I proved that I was smart and could do stuff and just needed a chance, then it's like, oh, I don't believe she's really that poor and that badly off and really in life-threatening poverty.
But Jacqueline did get the credentials in math. in a STEM field of all things. So
Right.
like
I learned
even
how to trade metal. I learned how to trade commodities futures in the capacity of being trafficked for sex as an
Okay,
underage throwaway kid.
so here's the really ugly part. Now here's the really big bomb. The people who create the rules are the same people who don't play by them and break them.
And they're
It's
the
like
ones
the
who
time.
benefit. They're the ones who are benefiting from people like me and Sherry being thrown away and then left to die and stigmatized for it, for what was done to us for life.
Well,
They're
that's
the
the other
ones
thing about.
that get
Hi,
believed.
Angelo.
They're
So
the
that's
ones that get believed, and it's like it just this is why this whole past 2 weeks have just been a nightmare, because I'm really scrambling now, because all I needed was one more month of support that I knew I could count on, and I would be able to make it, and I know I'd be okay because I do know how to fucking trade. I turned my COVID check into almost enough to get myself out of poverty, even if nobody else ever gives me a chance for a goddamn thing the rest of my life, at least with one more month where I don't have to take anything out of the trading account, to which is like you win a trade and then it's like winning a gold medal and having to hawk it for 10 cents on the dollar just to buy your next meal. And this is how I have to explain it to people who don't understand. Well, how can you be smart at this stuff but be poor? Well, because when you don't have an income and your attempts to get some stability your entire life have been undermined by literally every fucking buddy else, okay, who didn't care because it wasn't them, right? It's
Well,
like
when you're poor, everything costs more.
And when you get something and you finally think you're going to have a shot, it gets sabotaged. It's like winning a gold medal and having to hawk it for 10 cents on the buck to buy your next meal. And it's like to be so close to be within striking distance to finally maybe having a chance of being okay, of not being in danger, of being out on the street and being unable to afford my insulin or food, sabotaged by somebody who was a member of Yang Gang who attacked my support network within Yang Gang. That just completely, it just killed what tiny little shred of faith I had left.
Jacqueline, we have the ability to evolve as a species, right? And life loves to throw curveballs. I mean, it is so good at it, right? And you've been on this like really intense roller coaster. You're hitting the side of it and you're barely hanging on, right? And you're trying to keep your food down while you're hitting all these sharp turns, right? But it keeps going. And as time goes along, we have been building and growing stronger as a Yang Gang. And my theory has always been we just need to write we need more eyeballs on this thing. And I'm currently working on a documentary. I don't know if you've heard about this or not. But I am aiming for Netflix. Like that is where I'm aiming. And I believe that, if we are able to break into that realm, because we're just invisible if we're not on Netflix, right? There's too many YouTube channels. There's too many this and everything else, but a lot of people watch Netflix. And so, we need to be able to create something that others can step into, right? And I mean, they need to hear stories like this too, as well. And like I have a meeting soon with a guy who is going to help me at doing just this, right? And so like, because every time I'm on this podcast and I hear these pains that everybody's experiencing, it's just like, how are we the ones being punished? That's what it always feels like, right? Like, what did we do to deserve this? And reality is, we didn't do a goddamn thing.
We didn't do a goddamn thing, because I'm going to tell you what, no 12-year-old girl asks to be homeless and trafficked.
No. And then you have this trauma.
No poor disabled young woman deserves or asks to be trafficked and abused. Nobody deserves or asks to end up after trying and trying and trying their whole life without the benefit of a personal safety net,
Exactly.
of a class family, Nobody deserves to be left to die from lack of insulin or food or whatever the fuck, or lack of heat
Exactly.
in the middle of
But
winter.
see, if we could get into more homes with stories like this, we have a higher chance of getting more support rallied behind us, and maybe more sponsors to help us in our situation. But we do get a lot of resistance, right? But I mean, all we can do is create tools to use to benefit. And honestly, I want to also bring up a different tool that's coming into the works. It's being developed right now, but I highly suggest looking into it when it is in existence. But essentially what it is it's Skillshare and mentorship, essentially, or internship. So if you have a project proposal and maybe you've stopped because there's a skill missing, or you need a little help with something, blah, 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 they pair you with somebody who can help you, and you both benefit financially from the result, right? And I think there are other things and systems that are being created, like Karma Credit, where it's rewards with cryptocurrency for helping somebody out. So if we can figure out how to evolve our systems to incentivize things like this, I have this theory that maybe you would be able to find somebody to help you with your roof. You can maybe help or find
you know
somebody.
What? I'm gonna jump in and interject. In order to get to that point, you have to make it uncool for people to attack the poorest and most marginalized.
Gotta call them out. Yeah.
They gotta be fucking called out. I'm sorry. It's gotta be made uncool to be a fucking social predator. Full stop. That has got to be made uncool.
That's why I'm bringing my tape recorder to court. After being taken as property by a third generation outlaw who claims to be the grandson of the so-called founder, Vincent Stetzer, I was owned by Thomas Stetzer. And so I was raped at knife point 410 times over 14 months, the first 14 months of the 5-year ownership. My son, of course, is the result from that. And because of Colorado's no-fault divorce policy, of course, I was married at knife point too. And so because of Colorado's no-fault divorce and equal custody policies, I outlined in court, and it's on my Patreon page, the criminal behavior that Thomas Stetzer, selling cigarettes, gram bags of weed, buying food stamps, selling stolen candy, selling knives, selling guns, anything
Do you think he meets
to make a market. And when he didn't feel like running a shift, guess who got put out on that corner to deal with the junkies and the cops?
Do you think they meet outside of court?
It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest, because
if they do, that is what will get her out of there. I mean, like, it would require some investigation and spying a little bit, but I mean, that legally is not allowed and would get her disbanded. Like, that's as dirty as you can. Well, that's the quickest way.
What will get her out is my recordings from the June hearing, from where I called Thomas Stetzer out on all the false reports he was making and using people to stalk me and using government agencies to stalk me. He admitted to the false reports, up to and including paying a homeless guy $20 to make me sound crazy. I was reported to Child Protective Services for allegedly being obsessed with my alien abduction experience, which of course never happened. And so, our lives have been turned upside down and combed through more than half a dozen times since Operation Freedom a year and a half ago. When I called Thomas Stetzer out on all that on the hearing over the phone on June 22nd, Jennifer Torrington, the so-called judge in charge of this case, made her own false report to Child Protective Services alleging to my mental instability. However, when she filed a report stating that she's wanting to give him beyond a reasonable parenting time, cut the child support, charge me fees for visitation, which is forced by a woman coming to my door every Saturday morning, with all this stuff going on, she made her own false report to Child Protective Services. She did not say anything about mental instability in her so-called typed report, her discovery report. What she said is that I'm in poverty and I'm disabled. And so she wants to give my son as much time with his dad as possible.
Well, here's the thing. It's really disgusting, and most civilians don't understand this, Sherry, but I do. And when I say civilians, I'm talking about everybody who has never been into in forced prostitution or human trafficking. Okay, sorry, but you guys are civilians, and you know what? Watching one or two documentaries on trafficking on Netflix does not make you an expert in this field. That's like saying,
Nope.
oh, I watched Saving Private Ryan. I know all about being a combat vet in a war zone. So guess what, Sherry? It's going to be hard to get people to understand this, but you know what? You got the right number when a fellow member of Yang Gang, who's a good friend of mine, tipped me off about what you were talking about in your situation. And I said, yeah, let me put something together to try to get this done, because I know that civilians, number one, if they even believe people like us, they don't want to help, or they only want to help if it doesn't cost them any money, any time, any effort, or any real serious thought, because they don't really want to understand or believe how an entire array of systems can be allowed to continue with the full blessing and support of a society that threw women and girls like us away and let us get trafficked in the first place.
And you know what? Like these same exact assholes who like do this kind of stuff to people like you, they point to you as an excuse for people like me. So it's like when I get screwed, or when something doesn't work out for me, or when something sucks, they say, oh, well, you know, at least you're not like one of these people who got trafficked or who are homeless. So
yeah, like they would fucking know anything about it. You know what, Ariel?
Right, exactly.
You could tell them.
So
you could tell them from this trafficking survivor and survivor leader. Thank you very much. You can tell them that I, Jacqueline Sarah Homan, said that they are cordially invited to go shit in their hat.
Right, exactly. So when like I was born into a little bit of privilege, but that still doesn't mean like I don't have like my things that bother me, or things that get in my way, or somewhere that I'm not allowed to get to. But it's like people who are like,
should you have to end up as badly off as me or Sherry before it matters? And really, how bad does it have to get? I can tell you stories about survivors who are now dead, who literally died from poverty. Okay. And I can give names.
And so at least Jacqueline isn't as bad off as them. If we just continue.
Right, exactly. It's a race to the bottom with
I'm
these
not dead yet. Like, wow. Like we're setting the bar really
too low of a bar. So in fact, that was actually something I wanted to say. I wanted to thank all the young people, the young men who are here with us today, who give us this platform and allowed Jacqueline and Sherry to get together, and Faye. And I'd like actually to hear from Angela, who had some comment before, and also to ask Izzy if you feel like you're not getting enough support, because there is a little bit more support and awareness for women's issues right now. And there's shelters that are built just for women. I don't know if you feel like that's been an impediment for you, the fact that you don't have your own group that can, also look towards issues that you're having. So, Angela, did you have a comment that you wanted to make first?
I've long since forgotten what it was. Go ahead, Izzy.
All right.
Well, for starters, I want to. Here's what's weird about it, and it's funny you would even bring up like they like bring up like the resource for women and stuff. Here's the thing, with stories like Jacqueline and Sherry, you would think that like everybody in society and the media would like do something about that and make like their stories go viral. Here's the thing, they haven't, like otherwise Jacqueline wouldn't be this frustrated, or Sherry. It's like they were they're like they'll probably like more. They'll still be still be upset, but a bit more content or whatever. But these people, like they here's why I find it even more disturbing is that I thought that they would help people in similar situations like hers, or who've been in places like Turkey or Saudi Arabia and stuff, or have physical disabilities. But the harsh reality is that they only do that in front of the camera. When in public and stuff, they don't, because it's just like what they did with veterans. Like they'll say, "Oh, we love our veterans, we love our military, whatever," and then they end up putting their veterans out on the street, but in front of the camera, they're like,
Look
"Oh,
what they did to Ojeda."
Yeah,
Look what they
exactly.
Yeah, and he was in a lot better position to protect and provide for himself than someone like me or Sherry. And somewhat in terms of how trafficking survivors have been done dirty by this society and continue to be done by this society, we're at least not dead. So I mean, when you consider that as a group, the human trafficking survivor community in this country, 95% of which are women and girls, okay, have the lowest life expectancy rate on the fucking planet, second only to Africa's child soldiers. And we have a 90% unemployment rate and an 80% homeless rate. So, the reason why is because people only give a shit when it doesn't cost them anything. And it's like, oh, yes, I care. But, oh, shit, if to help might require something, might require that, number one, I actually maybe extend some of my privilege to someone who has none. Most people are nowhere to be found. I've come to the conclusion that the sole reason Andrew Yang is not going to be our next president is because as a society, we are overrun by entirely too many self-propelled shit cannons.
And he's a good person. That's why.
Who have made cruelty and exploitation and abuse into an art form. And I'm at the point where now at age 53, where my life is in danger as a diabetic every day, because I'm not getting my needs met, right? I am literally at the point of having exactly zero tolerance for any more craptastic assholeanism. Exactly zero. And, I've come to the conclusion that I don't believe that, when somebody can target a fellow member of Yang Gang to hurt them and leave them in a position where literally the only and last hope of help that they had got sabotaged, and it means their life.
Jacqueline,
it's killed my hope.
Can we talk afterwards? I have maybe a small business opportunity for you. It's selling hogwash barbecue sauce, but you get $10 commission per bottle sold. We can talk if you're interested. If you're not, that's cool too. But
I'll tell you what, I have an online merch store. I made a total of $50 since I opened it back in late February. When a couple of members of Yang Gang, after hearing my interview on Yang Gang Russ's show, American Dystopia, reached out and said that they cared and they were pledging to help and that they were going to help lift me up and put me at least onto my feet or damn near within striking distance of being on my feet, so I wouldn't have to beg anymore, literally, for my life. And that I could use my skills and my knowledge as an options trader, that if nobody else in this crappy society would ever give me a chance for anything, especially if it's too late, if I'm out on the street, unable to survive as a diabetic, okay? The whole idea is at least I would then be able to use my skills and my knowledge as a trader, that I wouldn't have to beg for a goddamn thing, and I would be able to trade my way into affording my insulin if I have to and keeping a roof over my head that way. And when that help ended up not working out because of a social predator who caused problems for other people in Yang Gang, by the way, it just, like I said, my situation is very perilous. I don't know if I'm going to survive until the election because of the amount of damage this person has caused for me. And I don't have family to turn to for support to help me to pick up the pieces, because that has something that has not been an option available to me since I was 12. And the only thing I have is my husband, who's a lot older than me, is on Social Security retirement. Well, Trump has his way. We're not even going to have his Social Security check or my Medicaid to cover my insulin. Never mind a roof over my head or utilities on to be able to focus on any kind of self-employment or business opportunity. I'm not even going to be able to damn survive. So, I mean, this is how serious shit is. And
I know. I'm just trying to give you an opportunity to make $10 per sale. That's all I'm trying to say.
Let me just say this. Let me just say this. All right, and because like yeah, going off like what Jacqueline said, militia, like she's in a shitty situation as well over in South Africa, and the organizations, all like the women's shelter, all the resources for women, whatever, they didn't do shit for her, nothing. Like now she's like dying in real time, like I mean, me, militia, and Jose are dying, are literally like dying in real time. I mean, but luckily enough, Jose managed to get with the French, and they're doing everything in their power to make sure she's alive. Mind you, Jose isn't the only client for the French, so they got multiple views. Like they don't have many eyes, and they still manage to get stuff done. But anyways, militia like barely has any energy to talk or interact with anybody, and every day gets worse, because it's like she's in a place that is literally claustrophobic. She can barely breathe, and like all these people like still like are just trying to do everything they can to provoke her, get a reaction out of her and stuff. No one is backing her up or taking her side. It's like it's literally like her against the world. Just like
Yeah,
how,
I'm also
just like
a
how I
little.
am.
welcome
I'm
to
also
the shoes.
concerned
Welcome
about.
to the shoes of what it means to be a human trafficking survivor.
Well, I'm also concerned about our person who is representing the exhausted, silent person today is our friend Mia, who is here at the podcast, but too exhausted today from her very busy life to really be able to participate fully. I think a lot of people right now are absolutely in this situation of just tired from handling one emergency after another.
Right. Well, I think like one of the secrets that we need to find out is how we can take the propellant away from the self-propelled shed cannons, as Jacqueline was saying.
You like that one, Harry?
Can we actually shift towards talking about how a universal basic income can help all of us, every single one of us, including Angelo, who
well,
is...
we know how it would help us. It's just that I don't know if we're going to have the support in society to be able to get it, because now that they're taking Medicaid and Social Security away from some of the poorest and most vulnerable people who won't be able to survive otherwise, to help another group of people that isn't that quite badly off, that group isn't going to give a fuck about us, okay? And I've seen that bear out again and again. I've seen this with the Bernie bros. I mean, they were all like, rah, 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 we want justice. And it turned out to, instead of being, we want to stop the oppression and harms and deaths of poor people, it turned out to, we want to punish anybody who's rich.
Which is pretty ironic.
Which is pretty retarded. Okay?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's so it's like, this is why, I fear that our chance may have come and gone, that we might have not have even had a chance, really. And that the only way we're going to get there is if we keep telling the truth loud and clear, because this country has not had an honest conversation about just how bad things are and how bad things can get, and that people literally die from poverty, from being forced down on society's margins through no fault of their own. And it's like we've set the bar pretty damn low if we allow people to tell somebody like Ariel that he doesn't have the right to complain because, oh, gee, he could have it like me or Sherry. Should we really have the bar set that low? I mean, this is what really needs to, this is why we need to have an honest conversation about poverty and about
right, because these shit for brain assholes never tell themselves, why are you and Sherry in the position that you're in the first place, is because of people who are telling like young millennials that, oh, they're lazy, or oh, they're this, oh, they're that, when that's not the case, when the jobs market is terrible, and you know, all this stuff. So the reason that I would come back at those people and say, the reason that these people that you're saying I don't have it like them are at the place where they're at is because of scumbags like you. You know, and why don't we look
Wait
at
a minute.
why?
That's the thing I want to try to shift from, is that we are kept fighting each other because, you know, it's because these people don't care about us and they need to give us more attention.
they're
Or it's
not
because
going to
these
care
people
about
don't
us
have
today.
right,
They're
but
never going to.
that won't help. That will never help, because
Yeah.
as you know, coming up to people and saying, hey, it's because you don't care about me, is not going to get this solved. We have to get the universal basic income to give every single person sufficient
They're
economic
never going to
freedom.
care about people like me and Sherry. That's what you don't get as a civilian.
Well,
So that's why we need to make sure that every single person in this country gets that universal
well, they may
so
not
that you
care
can be
until...
somebody who has, you know, a base to speak from, enough power, you know, of economic power to decide to do what you want to do without having to worry about what this other person thinks.
Here's the
what this other
caveat, Faye,
person
that
likes.
they're going to care until there's something in it for them. And sometimes people...
I'm sorry. I'm trying to move towards talking about the universal basic income and not about individuals caring about.
Well, in order to get a
not,
universal
you know,
basic income, you'd have to get
is
enough
surviving.
people that would have a vested interest in having that materialize. And until, unfortunately, it's going to take a whole lot more people dying from poverty and oppression, and a whole lot of people from the upper middle class falling down and having nothing and no way back up before that happens, because that's just
or a very moving documentary that might already be in the works. I'm just saying,
or
that's a great way.
Yeah, and I don't mean Saving Private Ryan either.
Or we will replace Black Lives Matter will bail out the people, because mind you, like all the protests we've been having a lot, you know, dealt with, you know, like George Floyd and like, you know, Breonna Taylor and things like that, but there was barely any protest about, you know, giving us our paychecks and UBI, Medicare for all, very, you know, and like
we got thrown under the bus.
Yeah,
Let's
mental
assume.
Health.
Hold on. Let's assume that everybody is self-interest only, and all you care about is really what's in it for me. Then what's in it for everybody to vote for this? Come on.
Well,
you want to vote for this.
Oh my goodness.
Well, if it's made truly universal, then there is something in it for everyone. That's kind of the point.
That's what I'm saying. It's not us who have that mentality. It's a lot of people out there who have that mentality, and I've seen it.
Right.
You know, yeah.
I've seen Ariel get attacked for trying to speak up for people a lot less fortunate than him, and I've seen where he has shared conversations with me on, you know, over the time that, you know, I've got to know him, where he actually got attacked very cruelly by people that he thought were his friends. And I can't imagine, you know, it's like I can understand how, you know, how that feels, the utter betrayal. And it's like, this is what we're trying to say, is that it has to get to the point where, you know, enough people will say, well, okay, some of us are getting taken care of, so what about the others who are going to end up dead because they're not being taken care of? It's like
but what I'm hearing from you, Jacqueline, is that yes, you and lots of people in the world right now need a lot of care, but at the same time you're saying,
and we're not getting
we're despondent. Yes, we're not getting that care. And so we have two beliefs that are fighting against each other, because one is you need it, and second, you can't get it. And so that means, what is there
Oh,
left?
there's a third thing.
Right?
It's called
Let's go to
didn't
the third,
deserve
yeah.
it, because we don't do that to convicted axe murderers. At least when they get sent to prison, they get fed 3 meals a day. They get a warm bed. They get medical care. It may not be great. And they get a hot shower.
And
I
we
mean,
wonder
they
why
get
we
taken
have
care of until they
criminals
get
going back.
executed. And it's like, we don't even get that.
Yeah, that's really, really gross. It's just, and then they wonder
we've
why
got to
people
talk
want-
we've got to talk to the people and let people know why this new idea,
Then
or
go
maybe
into debt
idea,
for a
this new
college degree
idea.
and learn how to do options trading, to end up being so poor and downtrodden my whole life that at age 53, as a diabetic and as a Crohn's patient, that I'm still having to literally put myself out there and beg for my life again and again and again.
So to get out of this cycle,
you know, if I could take a
conversation to the next step, how do we convince people to join with us? Okay, and not just say, you know, it's because of your failure. The end. Well, if that's the end, then we haven't made the ask. We have to ask for what it is we actually want to happen.
Well, the
Oh,
reality
come on, you're
if I could make the case for UBI, like we're talking about like 2,000 for an adult and 1,000 for a child. Now, if we could half that and put it in like 1980s money, you know, 1,000 per adult and 500 for a child. Like when I was little, I got into arts and crafts because I was watching all the arts and crafts shows. You know, I wanted to make like refrigerator magnets and sand art and all kinds of everything, but I had literally no money to do that with. My dad was the only income, and what mom didn't spend on bills and her whims, dad spent on beer. And so I had nothing to build on. And, you know, if I would have had $500 a month to go down to the dime store and get a bunch of fuse beads and some ribbon and some construction paper and some whatnots, you know, I would have had something going on. If I would have had $1,000 a month as a teenager or young adult to do my graphics arts and, you know, my other artistic endeavors, I would have had all the build from my childhood, and then grow up, have $1,000 a month, never be dependent on a human so-called caretaker to become my master, and been able to build on my own. Have my own little arts and crafts table, you know, like they have all the crafts fairs in Wisconsin. You know, I would have had my own set up. You know,
society would benefit from not allowing one person to monopolize you and turn you into their slave, and allowing you to have your own development in society and your own contributions. All of us would benefit from that, not just not just yourself.
Here's why.
And as it is, you know, I'm being illegally denied my disability because I've been trafficked, but I'm not a trafficking survivor because none of my owners like pimped me out. They had me work for money, but they didn't have me perform sex for money. So that means I wasn't trafficked. And I only had one rapist in my final owner, so I wasn't trafficked.
Well, guess what? Then the people who made that decision apparently have never read the Palermo Protocols or the UN Declaration of Human Rights and international law on what the definition really is for human trafficking. Human trafficking,
and
you know, is also labor trafficking. It's also being, for lack of any options, being forced through life-threatening poverty to sell one of your quote spare body parts, like a kidney. Okay, and going, you know, being a victim of organ traffickers that then leave you to freaking die from half-assed, haphazard organ donation surgery, which is a problem over in places like Nepal. Okay, so although, you know, the most common is the human sex trafficking, because nobody, you know, has any sympathy for the problems of sex trafficking survivors, it's not the only definition of it. So that means that people that are in charge, that are these gatekeepers to these policies, have never ever once read, you know, what the actual law states, and they don't know how to apply it. They think they know because it's like the proverbial civilian who watches a Netflix documentary on it and goes, "Oh, gee, I'm now an expert. Oh yeah, I heated up a can of beefaroni in the microwave. I'm now an Italian chef. I watched Saving Private Ryan. I'm an expert on combat vets problems. I mean, seriously, this is what we're dealing with.
Exactly. And it continues on to the disability judges and lawyers. You know, like I said, I'm being illegally denied my disability because I've been trafficked. I've been forced into labor and my money went to the owner. Paper in man's pocket is where the word pimp came from.
I think we're going to need a few more minutes for our conversation today, but we're almost reaching that 2 hours that we were scheduling. And so I wanted to give Mia a chance to say goodbye to us and also put in her 2 cents before she takes off.
Right on.
I'm really, really out of it today. I apologize that I have not been much good for conversating and all that. Tristan decided to flip bedtimes on us, and we tried to push it back, and that didn't work. So now we're trying to lean in the opposite direction, and so he didn't go to bed till 11 o'clock a.m. today, and I have been up so that I could show up on here and give everybody support, and that's about the best I can do right now. But I know that if what Jacqueline's saying about Trump is true, this is the thing that I could comment on the most, is I am completely and royally fucked if Social Security or Medicaid are taken away from Tristan. My entire world collapses. So hopefully that's not how things turn out. But you guys have a great conversation. I hope that everybody has a wonderful night too. And I'm going to go get a little nap in. Bye.
Yes, and you probably won't be able to make it tonight, but we're going to have a meeting for our podcast group. So
I've been unfortunate to not be able to make any of the meetings so far. So I'm sure you guys will manage without me.
My life being turned upside down was why I was late, because my blood sugar is so out of whack that I overslept. And, I just, because all the stress of what I'd been going through the past couple weeks, ended up really, doing a hell of a number on my blood sugar, and I'm not doing well at all. So
I figured as much when I didn't see you in here right at the beginning. Mia,
Okay,
it was
yeah.
really nice to see you. And do you want to give us a place to get a hold of you in case anybody wants to connect with you?
Oh yeah, I'm on Twitter at Mia Songbird on Twitter, like Mia MEA and then Songbird, like you would spell song and bird. And if you ever want to chat or need to chat, Tuesdays and Fridays I do volunteer as a co-host on Humanity Hangs. So there's that. Make time for that. Fridays I drink, so that's I get stupid that night. That's a really fun night. But for now I'm gonna go sleep. You have a good one, everybody.
Okay. Get some
All
good
right,
rest.
see ya.
Thank you for your support. I think everybody feels her commitment to us when she shows up, even when she's so exhausted.
Yeah.
I think the listening part of what she does is just amazing, that she's here to listen, even when she doesn't have anything she can give to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I certainly appreciate it.
It's always good to just, sometimes not even like money, what people want is just for people to just like listen and validate them. And it's like some people are like that they may have a lot of money, like physical wealth, but they're so like spiritually impoverished that they never even take the time to validate people, like their pain or their aspirations that they want for the future. They just like either stereotype or not listen,
I mean, thank you. It's like people seem to understand, don't seem to remember. I'm 53 years old, and I don't even know if I'm going to be able to literally survive long enough to even be able to testify next month, because of the damage that this individual caused for me within, Yang Gang, and some of the leadership is looking into this individual to take care of it because he's been a problem for other people. But I just want to say that, I had hopes and dreams too. I'm somebody, I had hopes and dreams too. And it certainly wasn't, to end up suffering in third world poverty my whole life and end up fucking dead, from poverty-related diabetic complications that would otherwise be preventable if only I would have gotten helped enough. You know, I mean, let's be real. So I want to apologize for being late, but with everything that's gone on, like I said, my blood sugar has been through the fucking roof, and my sleeping is all whacked out. I passed out earlier at my desk and didn't wake up until half hour, 45 minutes into this podcast because I had a sugar.
We know you pretty well, Jacqueline, and so when you don't show up, we're not thinking that you're an irresponsible person. We're thinking that we're worried about you, and so we start looking for you. The thing is, Jeremy has been another one of our silent partners today, who he holds down our stream for us. And I wanted to find out, Jeremy, where did you get these statistics, which seem to be very positive? If we fail to get individuals to support, each other right now, at the same time, we're seeing a growth in people who are believing that direct cash payments to human beings is actually something that the government should take on and should be doing. You gave us some statistics here of 74% of respondents to some poll approve of continuing government relief payments to Americans. And nearly all Democrats surveyed, 96%, said they support sustained payment, as did 74% of independents. A majority of GOP respondents, 53%, also said they approve of more money going directly to Americans. And here comes Jeremy with the receipts.
Yeah, so this was a survey that was done back on May 6th. And as you listed already, I mean, 96% of Democrats, 74% of independents, 53% of self-described GOP respondents all approve of more money going directly to Americans. And I would also like to follow that up with the most recent congressional approval numbers, which Congress currently has a 25% approval rating. So we have the public support. We just lack the political will. This November is going to be, I really hope, I pray, is going to be a turning point for this country. I think we are really laying the groundwork for something amazing to come our way. 2020 wasn't our year. I know we're all bummed about that, but I mean,
turning point USA.
I like to feel quite positive about 2020.
Me too. 2020 was the year that got us together and gave us space to breathe and time to think and an opportunity to talk, get our heads together, and organize. I really feel pretty good about it.
I mean, come 2022, 2024, we're going to be blowing up, guys. So
hang on. The Turning Point USA. Did you read that somewhere, Izzy?
Okay, so the reason why me and Jerry were laughing was because Turning Point USA is like this
conservative,
this like conservative organization or whatever. Who's like they think they know everything, but they really don't. They just put facts on the end of an opinion, and they throw these statistics out there, or whatever, and they don't really. When they're actually approached by those who could challenge them on their data, those who've done their homework, I will argue that no matter what I think about him, I think Cal Kalinske or Sam Steer, I feel like they can like challenge them on things, despite and even David Pacman, and they won't every time they're asked hey, would you talk to these people, or would you talk to someone like Scott Sands, or would you talk to someone who because things like Candace Owens, she would rather have a debate with AOC than to have someone who's done their homework, and it actually reminds me also of that time when people like Ben Shapiro and Steve Crowder, when they were on someone else's platform, Ben Shapiro was this Andrew Neil, and then when he was approached with
that English guy?
That English guy, he was approached with he was challenged with these straightforward questions or whatever, and Ben Shapiro accused him of being a liberal, and then and then he just stormed off, and then he had Steve Crowder with that guy Youssef, who they were arguing about socialism is evil, whatever. As Youssef, he had I guess if you agree or disagree, like his the way his approach, like he was very civil. He gave numbers, like he was being straight up, like there weren't like any sort of gotcha moments or whatever. And Steve Crowder, like he just he was flailing, he was dancing or whatever, and he was like, and then he took it personal when when he mentioned like let's not have like an autistic policy or something. He's like, and he thought the guy said call him autistic. He was like, you talked about autistic, like what are you talking about that? It's like oh my god, it's like I don't appreciate you saying these things. It's coffee in the dick. And like what the fuck? It's like this dude is. And then like Canzos wouldn't have a debate with Kyle Kalinske, and she was like, I think what Charlie Kirk saying, it was like a step down or something. I'm like,
Yeah,
dude, it's like I thought you wanted to have a dialogue.
Yeah, sometimes they don't know how much feelings that they have too, and like
facts don't care about your feelings. Yeah.
Right. But then they like Andrew Yang had all the facts and the data and the logic, so that's why we got a lot of conservatives who didn't join Yang and what he had to offer, cared more about their feelings than they did about the facts, like the cold hard facts. So
they just didn't know what they're talking about. They think they did, but it's like they thought that they did a quick search on Google.
The reason I mentioned that was that if Turning Point USA did a survey and found out that people were for UBI, then that's big. Then that's pretty huge.
Yeah, I think the unfortunate words happen to come just because it is a turning point in our United States.
Correct. That was the context in which turning point was used. We are at a turning point within our nation.
In fact, they seem to be keeping some sort of they call it a professor watch list or something of people that they think are possibly academic and toxic because they're so educated. And I'm like,
well, you can add
a great list
to that list.
But here might be a list of people I might actually want to watch, I was thinking.
That's what we were supposed to. If I would have been okay and not had literally my ability to keep myself alive, my last chance of being able to at least keep myself and my husband alive, sabotaged, okay, and be okay. That's what we would have been talking about this week, because I would have been able to be okay physically, to be on time, and we would have had that discussion about an economist named Fidel Kaboub, who's a colleague of Stephanie Kelton's, who
that's what she wanted me to.
Fidel Kaboub last year gave a free lecture down in Pittsburgh promoting the idea of with the federal jobs guarantee, paying the federal jobs guarantee workers locally issued currency that's not exchangeable into US dollars. Now, anybody who is any kind of self-respected leftist or came from the left, who ever had an ounce of understanding and read Howard Zinn's A People's History, or had a basic rudimentary understanding of what went down with the Battle of Blair Mountain and Bloody Mingo and the massacre at Mattawan, would know right well that paying miners in company script that was only redeemable at the company store after they were charged exorbitant rents to live in the company-owned housing, that is just not something you want to revisit in the name of being quote unquote progressive. And yet when this guy standing on his position of being an economist and an academic was suggesting this, yet all these people who, quite frankly, I'm sorry, didn't know shit from Shinola, but think because they read Marx or Engels maybe once that they sort of understand, and they were lapping this up as if it was roast duck, with gourmet filling. I mean, these people, I'm sitting there going, oh my God, what is it about script money and the most pivotal moment in U.S. labor history did you guys miss the boat on? And these are the same people, Fidel Kaboub and Stephanie Kelton, who attacked Andrew Yang, who attacked Yang Gang, who attacked UBI advocates in general, and said that we were all, said that they poo-pooed UBI basically, and tried to their best to do character assassinations and discrediting campaigns to thwart our effort to, actually end poverty. I don't want to relieve poverty. I want to end it. And I don't see how putting through a federal jobs guarantee and paying people in experimental locally issued currency, which is fancy words for a modern day resurrection of paying people in script, which is only redeemable at the company store, as the solution. I was just, gobsmacked when I saw this. But anyway, just wanted to put that out there. If anybody wants to hit me up to talk about that further, or to talk about human trafficking and the reality of it, not from the movie Taken or some Netflix documentary, that you got to remember, the movies that make it to Netflix documentaries and other venues of media are that which those with a vested interest in maintaining a status quo allow to be told. What you're not.
Jacqueline.
Yeah.
Jacqueline, I love for you to come on my podcast, because like I feel like, yeah, you definitely have some great insight, and not just with human trafficking, but also with abuse and the various problems we've been discussing. It's like, yeah, you like I would love to bring you on. It's like definitely DM me on Twitter and stuff, and we could like set up and stuff, because yeah, I want to hear more from you.
I definitely would love to do that. In fact, why don't you put your thing in the, I'm going to do a quick copy paste so I can grab the link from the chat.
Which one? Like my handle, or do you want like the
Well, yeah, how do I get a hold of you? Like your Twitter handle?
Okay, yeah, I just put it in.
Well, this might be a good time for all of us to sign off with our Twitter handles as we're coming to the close of our stream.
Izzy, I'll reach out to you on Twitter. Yeah. And Sherry, I'm going to reach out to you on Twitter about that other matter we discussed earlier. I've already been in touch with two of the other survivor leaders who are in outside of the United States, who would be part of this endeavor, to help with the situation you were discussing previously, to help with that. So we will talk about that. But one thing is you can't out these people by name, because we are under attack. You can't out anybody by name, because traffickers and Johns routinely target trafficking survivors who are pretty high profile, specifically to silence our voices. And if we end up dying from poverty, what better way to censor our voices permanently? So just bear that in mind when we're mapping out a plan for getting, that situation that you were referencing resolved. That, survivor leaders are often wondering where our next meals are coming from, and we're not even surviving. We're barely not dying. And we are putting our lives at risk just by speaking out. So just keep that in mind. And whatever you do, when someone says, oh, you can trust me, I understand. They
Don't
might
trust them.
But don't fucking trust them any farther than you can throw them.
That reassurance, I've learned, Jacqueline, that reassurance is a red flag. Like the more you try to reassure or apologize, whatever, that only just ruins your credibility. Because it's like, at first you're like, okay, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, but then when you keep doing it, it's like, yeah, you're full of shit.
Yeah, full of more bullshit than a Texas cattle ranch at that.
Exactly.
And that's the thing, and that's. It's like people like to put on these rose-colored glasses and pretend that things aren't really that bad. Well, guess what? Things really are that bad. And I and others in the HT survivor community know just how bad things can get. The only thing is that many of us are no longer alive to be able to say how bad things can get. So that's why if I can make it to at least testify, this September, I'm going to be naming names to bolster UBI. And that congressional panel, whoever they are, if they walk away from all of our testimonies, especially after mine, without being willing to say, yes, only helping some people but not others is dead. We can't go there anymore. We've got to We've got to implement a social floor through which no one can fall if we're ever going to move forward as a society. If they don't get on board with that, they are going to be setting themselves up for political suicide, because the truth will have been gotten out. I just got to be able to make
Jacqueline?
it until then.
Do you want to give us any of the ways in which people can find you and maybe support you on your Patreon or something like that?
Yes.
Let's close out the meeting now.
My Patreon is 99 Reasons Why. That's what it's called. And I'm also going to but a lot of people don't like, to deal with Patreon, and I don't blame them. So I can put up my PayPal as well, if you'd like me to do that.
I think that works. Why not?
Okay. So.
Can I also put up my PayPal as well? Like,
yes, of course.
If anyone's
yeah, sure.
Sure, put your information here that you feel comfortable sharing.
Let me just give me a minute. I'm a little slow. There's the PayPal. There's my Venmo.
Yeah,
I
don't
think people can see that. Maybe have them DM you on Twitter. Follow Jacqueline.
You should read that aloud so people can hear it.
My Venmo is at Jacqueline-Homan-2, and my Cash App is J, the F sharp Dev. That's capital J, lowercase t for the, and F sharp being capital F, and lowercase SHARP, capital DEV, Dev. And my Patreon, let me get that real quick. Like I said, please bear with me here. My Patreon is called 99 Reasons Why. If anybody ever wants to know how I came up with that for a name, please ask. I will be glad to share. Because there are 99 reasons why for everything.
Well, you have a Medium account that's associated with that with all your writings on it, right?
Yes, except like Scott Stanton's, I no longer contribute to Medium because Medium actively thwarts writers and contributors from getting Patreon support. And their paywall is such that I have yet to be paid anything from Medium, but yet I know that they've charged money for some of my pieces that got put up. So I don't contribute to Medium anymore. Fuck them. No, I'm not going to excuse my French.
Yeah.
Seriously, fuck them.
Here's the thing I wanted to bring up real quickly. Cause okay, and it's about us talking about these things. Here's the thing, okay, like Jacqueline's mentioned, she's dying, I'm dying, Melicia's dying, Jose is dying, and there are a lot of other people in this society who are dying. When they don't have to, they don't deserve it, whatever. And and then our society is getting worse, and we're not getting any compensation, nothing. And meanwhile, we've just been talking, and nothing's really has been done. Whereas this pandemic is putting everybody out of the job, and UBI has been passed, Donald Trump is in office, and suicide rate and drug overdoses are skyrocketing, and all these other things. Meanwhile, we're just opening ourselves up like this for people who just they just want to hear all the goodies and stuff, when what we're trying to do, we're trying to tell people listen, I'm in this predicament, and the reason why I'm even bringing this up in the first place is because I need help. I need some sort of action being taken care of. I don't have time to make peace or play nice with everyone. It's we've been there. That's already passed. Now it's now the storm is coming. All right, the warning has already been given. Now the storm is on the way, and it's we can't just waste any more time. It's crunch time, and it's so what I want to know is how long are we going to be having this chat, this talk? Because it's because
some of us can't wait. Some of us literally can't wait. I get you.
like you and me is like I'm not going to make it to 2024. I might not even make it to the end of this year. I mean, who knows?
Izzy, give us your
Because-
information because we might need a little time to prepare for our next.
Well, I put in like my PayPal and Cash App.
Can you
and-
tell us by voice because a lot of our listeners won't be watching the video.
But wait, what? Oh, okay. So
Tell us by voice
my-
so that it can be recorded. Yeah.
Yeah,
so-
think of it as a
Hold on.
radio program.
Right. Yeah, I forgot. So my PayPal is, Izzy B Izzyland. So it's IZZYB Izzyland run together. www.paypal.me/Izzy B Izzyland, and my Cash App is $ Izzy Beyond. Like run together. So and I mean. And also, just if you want any other more information, just follow me on Twitter at Izzy at Izzy Bolden, IZZYBOLDEN, and also on Instagram and stuff. And I mean, I know Jacqueline has too, but I've been having this conversation with lots and lots of people, even with organizations whose job is to help others, and they just gave people like me the runaround and stuff. Whereas if for those who are elderly or have or in a wheelchair and stuff, they'll put them first and stuff. And
They're
it's
not
it's
putting my husband first.
Yeah, exactly. That's the other thing. They're just
right.
it's they're selective and stuff. But
Yeah.
Thank you for coming today. Let's go to Sherry and let's have Sherry sign off also with information for people to reach her with.
Yeah.
Well, if my video's been funny, it's because I'm trying to find my PayPal information. I'm pretty unfamiliar with the app. I'll have to, is it sendable via email address?
I think the best way is to give your Twitter and have people connect with you either on Twitter or something like that. And then you can directly give them the information by a link because it's hard for people to remember by sound, a long link like that.
Right, that would probably be best. And yeah, in the chat, I put my Twitter at Kirchhoff_Sherry.
I got that. Yeah, I got that.
So.
Okay, the chat is not going to be on the video, so we have to do it by voice. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha. This is an audio podcast primarily. So.
Yeah.
Oh,
which is different from a lot of the other platforms that our other creators here actually use. Like Izzy's show is a video.
Okay, well, shiny newbie badge here, so thank you. But anyway, my Twitter handle is at Kirchhoff_Sherry. So that's KIRCHOFF_SH. Hold on one second. Vincent, honey, the other kiddos are sleeping. Can you please be quiet? And after the underscore is Sherry, which is SHERRY.
Thank you, Sherry, for joining us today. How about Angelo?
Did I give mine, Faye? I don't know if I gave mine, if I spelled it out or not. Did I do that?
You did some of them. I think
did I give Twitter?
The best way, the best way is to do your Twitter.
Okay, my Twitter is at Jacqueline Homan. That's all lowercase. JACQUELINEHOM as in Mary, A N as in Nancy. At Jacqueline Homan. All one thing. That's my Twitter.
That's a good way to connect with you. How about you, Angelo? Are you ready?
Sure. You can find me at Hellion Hellfire. That is HELLIONFIRE.
And Ariel?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. It's at Ariels_Armada. So that's ARIELS_ARMADA. I'm Revolutionary Thinking on YouTube. And if you like drone photos, I'm Ariels_Ariels on.
Okay, and I'm at Palestine Math. I'd like to go to also Jeremy and Shale.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, everybody. You can find me on Twitter at Jeremy Sammons1. That is JEREMYSAMMONS and the number 1.
That's because you are number one.
Thank you, everybody.
You were supposed to laugh, Jeremy. That was a joke.
I did. I was just muted.
Oh, okay.
Did Angelo? Everybody say
It's a
goodbye?
thinker.
I guess
Angelo's already done.
Okay.
So, Shale, you can take
I'm Shale. My Twitter is SHAELRILEY. Thank you so much for joining us, giving us your time and attention. Keep fighting the good fight. Keep taking care of each other. Be good to everybody. Be good to yourselves. And win UBI. We will see you next week.
SHLAEL, Shale Riley.
Shale Riley. That is me. Thank you. You like the little sing song?
That's what you sound like. It's like, you can follow me on SHAELRI.
And I think I represent all of us when I say that we really appreciate our listeners for listening.
And Sherry, as soon as this show is over, I'm going to be hitting you up on Twitter if you're going to be online and give you some contact information so we can pursue that other survivor, human trafficking survivor who's in danger right now.
Very good.
Pursue that avenue for help immediately because that can't wait. So look for a DM from me like within minutes after the show ends, okay?
I'm so glad that you two got together at long last.
Thank you again. You know,
Yeah, man,
we've
sure.
this connection, and we just.
I don't fuck around. I don't bring a stick to a gunfight, girlfriend.
All right, so we're short on time. We got a meeting in a few minutes, so can I just bop off here? Are we all done?
No, we're medium rare. Yes.
All right, I'll see you then. So I guess we're gonna meet on Zoom, Sherry, because you can't do Discord still. So we'll have a meeting on Zoom in a half hour.
Week, and this time, like, I caught barely a whisper of the audio, and I was locked out. It was the wackest.
We'll figure it out. All right, bye.